This is Radio 3. Money Talk.
Good morning from me, Peter Lewis. It's 8:03 in Hong Kong on Monday the 20th of June. Welcome to a new week of Money Talk on Radio 3. The State Council on Sunday appointed the principal officials of Chief Executive Designate John Lee's cabinet. Outgoing Chief Executive Carrie Lam said on Sunday that Hong Kong's COVID-19 entry restrictions, which she introduced, are untenable, and the city should decide whether to fully reopen to the world by the end of this year to revive its economy. Hong Kong's jobless rate fell to 5.1% during the March to May period, 0.3 percentage points lower than the February to April period. And global equities stabilised Friday at the end of a torrid week, which saw the FTSE All-World Index lose 5.7% and slip into a bear market.
Money Talk on RTHK Radio 3.
OK, and we do have now our independent Shanghai-based economist Andy Share on the phone from Shanghai. Morning, Andy.
Good morning, Peter.
So tell me a little bit now about what is the situation like in Shanghai. The city had a plan to return the city to normal by the end of June. How is that progressing?
Well, I think it's really slowly. It's kind of stuck. In some areas, we see a little bit of progress, like some people are going back to the office. So office buildings do have people, not a whole lot. But on the other hand, restaurants are facing more difficulties. When reopening began, restaurants could serve outside tables quite a bit. And also some restaurants were allowed to have in-room dining with a limited number of customers. I think that the in-room dining has really been reversed. And even for outdoor service, it's been curtailed. Tables being reduced. In some places, I see there used to be lots of tables. Now maybe a couple are left. So I suppose that it's still a struggle.
And is that because a lot of people are still actually locked down? Is that the reason why this is slow and why you say that people are returning to their offices, but it's still very slow?
Yeah, I think that everything is directed by the government. I think that the government informs businesses on what they can and cannot do.
So you still have to get permission if you want to reopen. You can't just reopen your business.
I think the people at the beginning, they thought that the reopening gave them more freedom. So a lot of people jumped on it. Okay. And then I think that they were told by the government not to do.
So what is happening with the consumer? The government's, the local government's been putting a lot of hope on the fact that consumer spending will rebound quite quickly. Is the shopper returning, and is consumer spending rebounding in Shanghai?
Oh, very, very, very slow. You go to shopping malls. Shopping malls are open, but you don't see a whole lot of people. I think that there has been a huge income loss, and inflation is serious. All of it is cutting into purchasing power, and I think that psychologically, people are quite depressed. So I don't see kind of a consumption coming back quickly.
So this is very different then from 2020. When you had the first outbreak, and then there was a very quick rebound, wasn't there? You're saying really this time there's been more long-term damage done to the consumer. Confidence is down, and they lose. More importantly, they've got a lot of lost income to try and make up.
Yeah, I think a lot of businesses are shutting down. There will be a lot more to shut down. It's been 2 years, and the latest lockdown hit business really hard. And then you ask business to reopen, then you tell them to kind of cut a service again. Back and forth, a huge amount of money is lost. I think that a lot of businesses will shut down.
And you mentioned inflation. I mean, China's official inflation rates, the CPI, seems quite stable. Rose 2.1% in May, but is the real inflation rate that people are feeling when they go out and shop and buy things, is it higher than that?
Well, I think that when it's just 2%, 3%, people won't even notice, right? So when people notice inflation, it must be quite significant. And also the supply is still not very good. You go into things are expensive and still not so available. You go into supermarket, you don't see a lot of vegetables. And I think that vegetables are really important during the lockdown. People all felt it. So I think that the supply is still not good. And psychologically, people are very depressed. I don't see how quickly that can improve.
So what does this mean then for overall for the economy? We had the key economic data last week. For May, it showed industrial production return to growth. There was a decline in retail sales, but it had slowed. Fixed asset investment met expectations. When you look at the numbers, it seems like the economy, although it's not in great shape, it's not getting any worse either. But what's your thoughts?
Well, I think that in terms of manufacturing, especially for export, it appears that in May it recovered and it gained it kind of recovered the loss in April. But that's the factory sector, and because workers live inside the factory and they don't have contact with the wider society, so the so-called internal circulation. But everything else, it's really doubtful. You look at the property market, it basically has collapsed. And land sales, the government reports about around 30% decline, but actually has really collapsed because the land sales are only down by state-owned enterprises. So it's from one pocket into another.
Okay.
And yeah, so obviously with a property market like that, a lot of basic industries will face demand problem.
Okay, Andy. Well, sadly, we've run out of time, but thank you very much for that update. That's Shanghai-based independent economist Andy Sher.
You're listening to Money Talk on RTHK Radio 3.